set your coaches and pros, the X's and O's. This is the best. What we do, what we know. So let's go. Yo, 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 yo. What up? What's up with everybody, man? Hope that everybody's had some good fun, family fun, and all of that over this weekend. Enjoyed the football that was on. I know I'm happy. My Pittsburgh Steelers picked up another victory. We didn't make it easy on ourselves at all, but I'll make a video about the Pittsburgh Steelers just for my Steelers fans up out there. I'm working today. I'm working hard. Got to keep them pumping out, man. Got to keep y'all contained for the week until we get to the weekend. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But so I wanted to talk to y'all. As you can see below me right now, if you're following me on YouTube or you're watching me on Facebook or Twitch or Twitter, whichever one that it is, or probably YouTube most likely for this one. When I go live, I'm on all of those streams. But so I want to talk to y'all about bowl season, and that's what's below me there, bowl season, because it's important. Like, this is important for me to know. First of all, I wanted to know these certain things and how all of these games tied in. So I said, hey, why wouldn't my audience, prefer to also look at a bowl season a little bit differently? Now, these are some of the bowl games that probably won't matter because they don't tie into the Big 12. But as y'all know, I like Colorado. I was wrong with Colorado, but I still like Colorado. I'm super happy that they finished off the season with a 10-2, 7-2 overall record. Huge. That's huge. So I took the liberty out of doing my homework and actually putting a lot of things together. So what I kind of did was, because we don't know, so we're assuming that the way that things are set up, they're gonna put them in an old Pac-12 bowl, right? That's not necessarily true, because the updates on, and this is bowl season, actually the website, I want to give y'all the website. Shout out to bowlseason.com, okay? Slash / sports / bowl, and then / schedule 2024 -25, okay? And this is directly off the bowlseason.com website, where you could book your tickets and you can look up the schedules, and you can find out where the nearest tailgates are, because a lot of these places won't let you tailgate at the stadiums or in the area. So if you're going to tailgate at one of these bowl games, I advise you to jump on bowlseason.com and then check it out and see if you're allowed to do that on a property or whatnot, because it'll tell you where to party. You know what I'm saying? It'll tell you where certain things and events that's going around the actual bowl game. You know how every bowl game has events for kids, flag football, so forth and so on, right? It's pretty dope, yo. Check it out. But so I got to looking at this and deep diving into it, and it's to be determined what if or not a Big 12 team like Arizona State, Colorado, Arizona didn't make a bowl game, but any of these Pac-12 teams will actually be playing in a Pac-12 bowl, right? Because of the conference, the league shifts, right? The conference realignments, number one. And then a lot of it has to do with business. And I'm just being honest. I did a deep dive on this, y'all. This is definitely me coming at y'all with all the information that I looked up and everything. So, we live in a capitalist society, right? So it's about money. And this is exactly what's going on here. They don't want to put a big draw like Colorado in a bowl game that is not going to benefit the whole entire league or the NCAA, right? They're not going to do that. We know this. It's just a fact. And just looking it up, not looking it up and doing my research on it, that's pretty much what I got from it. So they want to, everything is to be determined. So what I had to do was I had to go and look up every bowl game that they possibly could be in from the Pac-12, and then I also had to look up the Big 12 bowl games, right? Because if you go on bowlseason.com, where all the affiliates and sponsors and donors and so forth are going into, they have them put in as a Big 12 team, and they only have two Pac-12 teams, right? So they get to pick between which Pac-12, old Pac-12 team or new conference game is going to be a bigger draw, which is genius. Not just putting them back in the Pac-12 category. You listening to me? It's genius, right? And this is what these teams that left, this is what they decided to do. And it's genius. It just really is. And that's just a fact. This is it is what it is. I know there's going to be people. No, they're going to a Pac-12 bowl, and they very well may be going to a Pac-12 bowl, but it's to be determined. But I do think that they will make, and we all know that they will make special accommodations for a draw such as Colorado. You know what I mean? Because outside of Colorado, the other Pac-12 teams that would, but which I must say did very well in their old respective in their new conferences. They all did very well, but Oregon, who is a bigger draw than Colorado, that is not going to the college football playoffs at this moment. And that's what we have to think about, right? And so this is where I got a lot of this information from, right? And just putting it together, puzzling it together. But what I had to do was is look at the schedule as a whole and say, okay, so let me scroll down to some of these games because they won't be playing in none of these games. Shout out to the guy. Well, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, they'll probably play in that the Rate Bowl in Texas. That's a possible bowl for them. But I'll start off and I'll go to the top of the bowl list and I'll get to the very first bowl game to where they can be actually playing in. I think it's the yeah, okay. So I was right there, the Rate Bowl. That's one of the first ones they could play in, the Rate Bowl and so forth and so on. All right. So even looking at, so if we go back the Pac-12, and I wrote down notes. I had to write things down so that I'm precise and I'm on point with everything and making sure that I'm following script. On that no script, but it's just a whole bunch of bowl games that I've written down, right? That's all. And just making sure that I'm on point with that. But so they can play in the Holiday Bowl, which is on December 27th, and this is a Pac-12 bowl, right? Assuming that they'll be with the Pac-12 in the Pac-12 bowls. That's a December 27th game, 8 p.m. As you can see on Friday at 8 p.m. It's the Holiday Bowl, right? And it's in San Diego, California at Snapdragon Stadium. And they could be taking on an ACC opponent, right? I think that this is one of the bigger draws right here, right? Because and I'm speaking for Colorado right now because we know they're not going to the college football playoffs. So I want to see who Colorado's playing, right? I want there to be a good game. I want there to be a good football game and see who they're facing, right? So the Holiday Bowl, like I said, we already went through the date and the time that it's going to be played, 8 p.m. I think that's primetime television. I think that they should deserve to be on primetime television, right? So then I got to looking at the rankings for all the other teams. Now, who could possibly be their opponent? So I had to go and look, and this is an ACC team. So we're looking at the ACC teams now. So now I have to go to the ACC teams, and we have to look at which ACC team has a similar record or possibly can be playing, right? So we look, and here we see, I'll zoom in a little bit. Well, I think that's zoomed in enough there, right? As you can see, right? You can see the teams in the I'll talk about I'll scream out the rankings as we're going, the team's records. Excuse me. So we have SMU and Clemson. They'll be playing for the ACC championship, right? Even Clemson is at 9-3. They'll still be playing for the ACC. They have to win this game, right? If Clemson does not win this game, and it's crazy that they're 9-3 and they'll possibly be going into the college football playoff over Miami, but I get a strength of schedule, whatever the politics into that. So Clemson will probably get a better bowl, which probably would be maybe, I'm guessing, a first responder bowl with a Big 12 team and the ACC. So I really didn't want to count the top two out. So what I did was I went below who would already be in the college football playoff or playing for the conference championship, and then going for the 6 teams down from there, right? And that's what I did. So follow along. So I didn't count the teams who are playing in their conference championships or going to the college football playoffs. I went down to the bottom 6 below those teams, right? Okay. That's what I did here. Y'all following along? Cool. So so we got Miami sitting at 10-2, 6-2 in their conference. That's one. Syracuse at 9-3, 5-3 in their conference. Louisville at 8-4 overall, 5-3 in their conference. Georgia Tech at 7-5 overall, 5-3 in their conference. Duke at 9-3 overall, 5-3 in the conference, and then Texas Tech 6-6 and 4-4 in their conference. Now, Colorado will not be playing anybody else below Texas Tech. I think it would be disrespectful to them to be even playing on, to be honest, a Duke. At this point, I would assume that they'll be taking on either Miami, Syracuse, Louisville, or Georgia Tech. But I went and did 6 teams. This is just how I did it. So assuming and saying that they're in the Pac-12 and they'll be playing an ACC team, it would be out of Miami or Syracuse. I think a lot of people want to see this Miami and Colorado game. I think that game is almost it's a big draw. It'll be a great game. You got QB select trainees, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward going head to head. I think these teams match up very well. 2 high power offenses that can score. Which defense is going to show up and stop the other offense is where we're going to get. But if you're talking about 2 offenses that can score in a bowl game that a lot of people's going to watch and a lot of people tuning in, I don't think you get no better for a bowl game such as Miami and see Colorado for that. That'd be lit for the Holiday Bowl now. For the Holiday Bowl, and I'm right now I'm on the Pac-12 bowls, right? So now we could go to the LA Bowl, and I think that's just I don't think that they'll be playing in this bowl, the LA Bowl, the Gronk Bowl, and that's versus a Mountain West team, but it's a Pac-12 team versus a Mountain West team. It'd be played on December 18th, 9 p.m. That's on a Wednesday. I'm not even thinking that they'll be playing in that game for real. But I still want to inform y'all on the bowl games and the times and where they'll be played at. And that's at SoFi Stadium. The stadium is lit. Like the stadium's crazy. They'll be playing at SoFi for a bowl game. I think it's crazy. But that's a Pac-12 versus a Mountain West team. And I think that's and I don't know if that they'll be drawing that game. Okay, I don't think that that's the matchup nobody's looking for. But hey, we don't know. We just don't know. So just assuming that CU went to the LA Bowl, we're just assuming now this is just an assumption. I don't want them to be in this bowl at all. But so let's go over to the Mountain West teams, right? And let's check out the Mountain West schedule, right? This is the only one I didn't write down. Now, Boise State and UNLV will probably be playing for the conference championship. So I'm not going to include those teams, but I don't see anybody else on this schedule that can even remotely mess with Colorado. I don't think that's a good draw. I think that's the wrong Pac-12 team. I think that this game probably be more reserved for and no disrespect to Washington because they did good and that's a Pac-12 team. Although they did nothing but play this whole conference this whole year, they may have played outside of it a couple times, but they pretty much were a Mountain West team this year. And to be honest, we got a lot of teams from the Mountain West that will be the new Pac-12. So that's what's going on here. So that's why everything is to be determined with these bowl games this year. That's another reason why I forgot to bring that up at the beginning of the show, but I don't see a good game here. We want to see good football. I don't think that we want to see Colorado State take on Colorado again, not the way that they dominated them. Fresno State, San Jose State, New Mexico, Hawaii, Like, do we like? No, they're not even in it. So San Jose State, uh, Fresno, or Colorado State playing Colorado in the LA Bowl at SoFi Stadium. Do y'all really want to see that? But that's a possibility, right? We don't know. I'm just trying to figure out where Colorado going to be playing at right now, right? That's what we're trying to do. And I don't think that's a good fit, right? So let's move on to the next bowl, which would be the Las Vegas Bowl versus an SEC opponent, December 27th at 10:30 p.m. on a Friday. Prime time on a Friday. You're back. Everybody's out of work from first shift. If you at work on the 27th on our Friday, you're gonna find a way to try to tune into that game. And it's at Allegiant Stadium. I think that's more their speed. Being at Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, Shador's supposed to be going to the Raiders next year. The Raiders is keeping an eye on Shador. Why not try to get there and play in that stadium? The storyline fits a little bit, right? The storyline fits a little bit with that game. But now let's go into who could be possibly be their opponents in the SEC, right? So, and when you look at the SEC, y'all, I'm going to keep it real. We had this discussion. I love the parity in college football. I love the fact that I'm not one of those guys that's going to say that the Big 12 is trash. Although a lot of teams from G5 did move up to the Big 12 and make part of the Big 12, does not take away from the Big 12 playing absolutely good ball this year. And I'm going to be keeping record of what conference wins the most bowl games and what is their bowl game record overall. I think that matters. Deion Sanders is making it matter. If you got superstars like Shador, Travis, Shiloh, no matter if he can play good on the field or not, he's still a superstar. He's well known throughout college football. And if that whole team is going to play and make bowl games matter, and I think that should be happening everywhere in college football because of this simple fact, that will put the rest of whatever conversations we have, whatever arguments. If everybody came out and played in their damn bowl games, wouldn't nobody have to sit there and debate. Fans would not be debating the SEC better than the Big Ten better than the Big 12. Well, who is going to win the most bowl games in their conferences? That's all that matters. You see, and it's going, and it means a lot to them. So I think it should mean a lot to everybody else. And I'm sure their opponent is going to show up with their whole team. You're not going to show up and not play Shador and Travis in a bowl game. Your last possible chance to play. That means something. It means something. I don't care. It means something. It would mean something to me if I got the chance to play against them. I'm sure every other college student out there and college athlete playing them. But I'm rambling, and they'll be playing an SEC team. Assuming Texas and Georgia playing for the conference championship, they're probably going to let Georgia in if Georgia loses a game. Texas is still probably going to be in if they lose this game, right? It's just both of those teams are in. Tennessee is in for a lot. So those top three teams is definitely going in. Alabama, Ole Miss. So I wrote down Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Mizzou, Texas A&M, and LSU. And what I was just talking on my little rant was because those six teams right there are dangerous. And Florida, I forgot. Florida's also going bowling too. And those like y'all, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Florida, LSU, Texas A&M, Missouri, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama. They're all going bowling. All those teams are bowling this year. Period. And Alabama still got a chance to sneak in there and get into the college football playoff. I think it'd probably be South Carolina that might slide in, but they still got a chance to slide in. Ole Miss or Alabama still they out there debating should they let one of those 9-3 teams up in there. And look, but I just wrote down the six because I don't think Colorado would play anybody less than LSU in a bowl game if it was in this Las Vegas Bowl, right? I don't think that they would play anybody less than them. So would they take on Alabama? I think all those games would be a good game versus Colorado. I don't know exactly who they would play, but Colorado versus Alabama, Colorado versus Ole Miss, Colorado versus South Carolina, Colorado versus Missouri, Texas A&M, LSU. I think that's a good draw. Them versus either one of them SEC teams is a good draw. I think so. I do think that look, it's a toss-up. Do you think that Colorado could beat Alabama. They have an outstanding defense. They got a quarterback that can run the ball. We've seen Alabama lose teams versus teams that didn't have good of a quarterback versus Shador. It's a good argument for that, right? You could debate all those games, right? So, but I think that's where we at with that one, with the Las Vegas Bowl. So moving on to the next one. The Radiance Bowl, which is versus a Big 12 opponent, Pac-12 versus a Big 12 opponent, December 28th, Saturday, 9:15 at night, Eastern Standard Time. This is what all the times are off for Eastern Standard Time. I must say that too for a lot of the listeners. But this is played at Independence Stadium in Shreveport, Louisiana. I think this is another one of those. I think this is a decent bowl game to make. I don't think this is a bad game. It's not a New Year's Eve bowl, but you're going bowling, and it means something in Colorado. They haven't won a bowl game in a lot of years, so they want to win a bowl game, and they're going to play in it. And I'm hyped about that because I think it's going to change a lot of players out there to playing these bowl games. It's like it says so much. Like if Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders is playing in a bowl game, why can't you? That's all I'm saying. Like, why can't you? And I think that shoots them above to the NFL scouts. I know that means more to them. I know it do. Them looking at the players. There's a lot of teams out there that likes the fact that they got some pride in this game. Now, I could say what I want about not liking the attitude or whatever else off the field, but the fact that they're playing for their school for a bowl game, that just makes that Travis Hunter that more likable and that much more just to win a Heisman, right? Because like that's pride. That's taking pride in your craft, dude. It is. Um, period. I'm just saying, like that's like saying I'm a championship drawer, artist, and I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want to paint in the local competition because I know I'm going like that's corny to me. Like if you're the best at your craft, you're the best. Show you the best. Make these games mean something. Make them, or because they mean something to me regardless. That's why they mean something to me regardless, and just like they mean something to everybody else. But I defer. And look, we'll talk about it a little bit more. So I was talking about the Radiance Bowl versus a Big 12 opponent. And so we get to looking at the Big 12 opponents around, and we know who the Big 12 is, right? And it would probably be uh so the loser out of that either the Iowa State or Arizona State game. We don't know who that would be, so I didn't really count those guys. So we got BYU, Baylor, TCU, Texas Tech, or Kansas State, right? And West Virginia should be in there too. They're 6-6. They will be going bowling and 5-4 overall. One of those teams, right? And they already have played Kansas State, Texas Tech. Um, they haven't played in Baylor, so they haven't played TCU, West Virginia, or BYU. Now, I heard a lot of people saying they'll be playing BYU in the Alamo Bowl, but it can also be in the Radiance Bowl, right? Either or, the Radiance Bowl or the Alamo Bowl, they can possibly be playing one of these Big 12 teams. All right. So that's two bowl games out of the way. And by the way, the Alamo Bowl is played on the 28th also, but it's at 7:30 p.m. and not 9:15. And that's at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. And they could possibly be playing one of those teams. Um, I do like now look, they played a lot of Big 12 teams. BYU and Colorado, yeah, that'd be a good game. It's a Big 12 matchup. I think that's a safe matchup for Colorado. But to be honest, when you got a first round, a quarterback that a lot of alum and a lot of people saying that, and I believe that is a first round pick. I don't know if he's the first overall pick, but I do think Shador's a first round pick. And when you saying he's a first one, people out there argue, I got a first round pick quarterback, a Heisman two-way player. Do we really want to see him play in a Big 12 that was flipped upside down this year? I want to see him play some of this SEC Big 10 competition. I'm just keeping it real. I want to see how Travis Hunter matches up versus these SEC receivers or these Big Ten receivers. I want to see it. I want to see it. I mean, like the I really want to see him play in the Las Vegas Bowl versus a SEC team. And I'll get to talking to other SEC bowls here in a second, but I definitely want to see Colorado play a SEC team. I don't really want to see Colorado play nobody else, because I just want to see how they match up against this competition. I want to see how it goes, how the game forms out, and actually get a good barometer of Shedeur at the next level against some of these um, big guys on defense, because it's still a little lopsided. It just is. And I just showed y'all that. If y'all didn't see the records, y'all know this now. It's a little lopsided. It is. Like let's call it what it is, y'all. I mean, when you get to looking at those SEC teams, and that's not even out of the top 3. I started at number 4 in the SEC. That's crazy. But I want to see those. I want to see them play. I would love to see Colorado and South Carolina go at it. I think that's a good matchup. I think that's a perfect matchup. I think that's a perfect matchup right there. South Carolina and Colorado. South Carolina, Ole Miss. I mean, not Colorado, Ole Miss, Colorado, Alabama. Would like to see that matchup, but we'll get to talking about some more of those matchups, right? So that's all for the Pac-12 matchups right there, y'all. And then moving on. So now I have the Big 12 games, the Big 12 bowls, because we just don't know which one they're going to fit in and how this is going to play out, because now they have a newly aligned Pac-12, which would consist of Boise State. Let me get the UNLV. Let me see. UNLV. I believe Colorado State will go over to the new Pac-12. Fresno State, San Jose State. I believe all those top 5 teams will be going to the new Pac-12. San Diego State, I think, will be going to the new Pac-12. Nevada, I think, also is going to the new Pac-12. So the Pac-12 will have a new conference, and I don't know how they're going to fit it business wise. That's all I'm saying. That's what makes sense. Now, if they play in the Pac-12 bowl, they probably will, but they can put them in either or, is what I'm saying. They can put them in either or. And this is according to, once again, bowlseason.com. This is what the sponsors want. It's not about what we think. It's not about what we want. It's about what makes sense to these sponsors, these businesses, these hotels, so forth and so on. These businesses that are help sponsoring this game and these television networks. That's what's going to make the most sense, and not what we think or what was told to us at the beginning of the year. All right, that's just not what it is. But the Big 12 matchups, bowl games, the Alamo Bowl, of course, we talked about the Alamo Bowl already, and it played inside San Antonio, Texas. We talked about the time, and it's a Big 12 matchup. All right, versus a Pac-12, right? We talked about that. We didn't talk about the Pop-Tart Bowl, right? So assuming that they keep them in the Big 12 and it's an ACC matchup, at the Pop-Tart Bowl, December 28th at 3:30 p.m. on a Saturday, Camping World Stadium in Orlando, Florida. I think that's a good one. Once again, who would they play in the ACC? Let's take a look at the ACC. We already got the ACC team pulled up. Now, Clemson can lose this game versus SMU, or SMU can lose. SMU, Colorado, Miami, Colorado, Syracuse, Colorado. I think those are all decent matchups. I think really anybody in the top of the ACC right now, playing against Colorado, I think that's a good matchup. I think that's both team speed. I think that's more of a even matchup, if I'm being honest. And I think that I would want to watch those games, right? I would want to watch that game. All right. So we don't know, but I would love to see that. Which one of those teams would you like to see? Let me know down in the comments which team out of each conference I would like to see, and where would y'all like for them to be placed. We don't know. We're just speculating, right? We really don't know this. The second game would be the Texas Bowl. It's a tax act They sponsor but it's the Texas Bowl. That's a New Year's Eve bowl, Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. I think that's their speed. I think that would be cool for them to come in and bring in the new year with a hard fought battle, bringing it in with your kids. The last time you're going to see your boys before they go to the NFL on New Year's Eve, playing at NRG Stadium, Houston, Texas versus an SEC opponent. Oh my goodness. And most likely the SEC team they probably drop out. Their players probably will drop out, which would just give them a win. I don't care. You want to drop out? I'm still going to brag. Their starters didn't drop out. They came to play. Your team did. That team lost. That team deserves loses bragging rights. And I feel like we learned a lot from Florida State's team not playing and trying to go to the NFL. It lingered over, not only into their NFL careers, but for the next season for that team. It says a lot. Get your players to play, bro. Get your players to play. Everybody's not going to be a Christian McCaffrey. They're just not going to do it. The more repetition you get to put on your body and real game experience that you get, the better it's going to make you in the future. And we can't play this game we call football scared. You play this game scared, you play this game timid, you will get hurt. That's just what it is. We learned that early on. I could keep talking about it forever. I'm trying to get through to the bowl games. But that's what it is, right? And that's an SEC opponent. We looked at the SEC opponents once again. I'll let y'all get the visual. Those that's following along, and those are not following along, I will talk about the teams. We know that once again, Texas, Georgia are playing for the SEC championship. Tennessee will be going to the college football playoff. So the top three teams out of the SEC will be going to the college football playoff: Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Now, Alabama 9-3, Ole Miss 9-3, South Carolina 9-3, Mizzou 9-3, Texas A&M 8-4, LSU 8-4, and they are all 5-3 in the SEC. Which one would Colorado play in the Texas Bowl on New Year's Day? Will it even be Colorado? We don't know, but I'm just saying it's a possible. Let's go. All right. Now, other teams possibly could plan, but I'm trying to figure out who Colorado be playing, right? Assuming that they don't get it, it'd probably be a Pop-Tart Bowl because maybe the loser of the Big 12 championship plays in the Texas Bowl versus the SEC team. But you also got another Big 12 matchup, which is the Liberty Bowl, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. December 27th. This is a Big 12, assuming that they'll play in the Big 12. We don't know. So I gave y'all the Pac-12. Now I'm giving y'all the Big 12 because they could pick. They really could. No. December 27th. That's a Friday, 12 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. We don't know which one that's being played at what stadium is that? I got written down. I can't. Okay. It's being played in Birmingham, Alabama. That game is. But it's versus the SEC opponent on the 27th. And we see the SEC opponents. Now, we see them. I've read them out to y'all just now. So which one of those opponents will possibly be playing? Colorado on December 27th. Now, if that game don't work, there's another Big 12, the Rate Bowl. It's called the Rate Bowl, but it used to be Guaranteed Rate, but it's just the Rate Bowl now, which is being played at Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona, December 26th. That's a Thursday at 2 p.m. versus a Big Ten opponent. This is where I'm starting to like it right now. Let's get to looking at the Big Ten, these conferences that a lot of people, even myself, said, look, okay, the bias with these have to stop. But it even gets worse when we look at the Big Ten, right? We look at the Big Ten. Oregon, 12-0, 9-0 in the conference. College football playoff. Win or lose the championship. Indiana, 11-1, 8-1 in the conference. They're not going to the championship, already in the college football playoff. Well-deserved season. Penn State, 11-1 in the conference, overall, 8-1 in the conference. Regardless of what you want to say about Penn State, they won their schedule. They're 11-1, 8-1 in the conference. It's not easy to do. I don't care. They're there. They're in the college football playoff. Ohio State, 10-2, 7-2 in the conference. Just lost to an unranked Michigan team. Michigan ain't sorry. They're about seventh place in their division, but unranked, whatever. They're going to the college football playoff. All four of those teams are going to the college football playoff out of the Big Ten. Don't care what you want to say. They're going to the college football playoff for y'all. They're there. Now, you cannot tell me that these next 6 teams did not play their hearts out and did not play tough week in and week out. And I'm going to read them to y'all. Following the audio, however you listen it, right? The next 6 after Ohio State. Illinois, 9-3, 6-3, 9-3 overall, 6-3 in the conference. Iowa, 8-4 overall, 6-3 in the conference. Michigan, 7-5, 5-4 in their conference. Minnesota, 7-5, 5-4 in their conference. Rutgers, 7-5 overall, 4-5 in their conference. Washington, 6-6, 4-5 in their conference. And then you got SC and Nebraska that are both will be going bowling, but they probably will not be playing a team like Colorado. They probably won't be playing Colorado, but we don't know how they'll match this up. We don't know how they smash this up. We don't know how. You probably say, well, Colorado lost to Nebraska earlier in the year. They did. That was earlier in the year. I don't know if they could beat the same Colorado team now. I wouldn't that rematch. I don't even Colorado fans probably want that rematch because it's a rivalry game. I want to see that. But who do you think they're going to draw? I mean, they finished the season 10-2, 7-2 overall. I would think that they would match them up against in this rate bowl if they were to play that against a Minnesota, Michigan, Iowa team. Maybe. But all four, but these are all teams who have absolutely played very hard throughout this season to get where they got. I've seen Rutgers play. They were not consistent. I thought Washington had an outstanding defense. I think their offense was didn't play as consistent as they could have played, but I thought Washington was a tough team. I think Rutgers was a tough team. Despite the expectations that people put on Lincoln Riley, I think that they got woken up. There's a little bit of things he got to fix within the culture there, but I think that SC can bounce back. I really do. I hope they do. Minnesota, PJ Fleck, they came out on fire this year. Nobody thought that they would finish with the same record as Michigan at all this year, and they came out on fire. Michigan, Sharon Moore losing 18 players to the draft, just beating Ohio State. Their season, they're capped off. But I would love to see that. Colorado versus Michigan. Travis Hunter breaking all of Charles Woodson's records, possibly being the only two-way player since Charles Woodson to win a Heisman Trophy. Like, that would be a fairy tale ending to this whole season. I think that'd be look, Michigan got a very strong defense. Colorado offense. That Michigan don't have a quarterback, but if they're able to beat Ohio State, I think they can play Colorado pretty good. What y'all think? Iowa, Colorado. I think that'll be another good matchup. The offenses with the Big Ten is like ground and pound, but hey, we'll see. Argue it. We always say that what they would do to other teams outside of the conference, we got to match them up and we got to see. We know their best is going to play, so I'm sure that whoever they're playing is going to bring their best too, and nobody's going to sit out of this bowl game. Why would you? You get the chance to play against Shedeur and Travis. Why would you ever sit out of this game? That'd be so stupid. And it's your last game. That actually means something. That Dion may think something. So thank Coach Prime for that one. That's the rate bowl possibilities. But I also wanted to look at how, because we had this argument. Those are some nasty teams. When you look at the bottom, and these are the bottom teams in the Big Ten. These aren't the top. This is not the top teams. We starting at number. Illinois is number 5 in the Big Ten. They're 5th in the Big Ten, and then Washington is 10th in the Big Ten, and Michigan is 7th in the Big Ten. So if we literally matched up right now based off of what CU has already done and where they're sitting at, if we matched up third place in the Big 12 versus third place in the Big 10, it would be Colorado versus Penn State or Colorado versus let me see in the SEC, Tennessee. And then let's go to the ACC, Colorado versus Miami. Right? That's what that would be right now. If we went straight up just like that, that's exactly what that would look like. It's just something to think of. And to really, I'm just saying that just look at things sometimes from a whole perspective and not fanned out all the time. And that's all I'm trying to say here. But the First Responder Bowl, and it's crazy. And that's why I know a lot of people like, wow, trucking. That's crazy. And I know it is. I know. Something to think about. Illinois is the 5th best team in the Big 12, Big 10 right now. That's crazy. The First Responder Bowl is a Big 12 bowl. Like I gave y'all the Pac-12, and I'm giving y'all the Big 12. First Responder Bowl versus a ACC team or an American Athletic team. We already seen the ACC teams that could possibly match up for the First Responder Bowl, which is played January 3rd, Friday, 4 p.m. at Gerald J. Ford Stadium in Dallas, Texas. Now that's possibly, I don't know, that's possibly the loser out of the ACC championship game, or Miami or Syracuse, maybe even Louisville. I don't know how they'll match that up. I'm just giving y'all a little bit of insight on this. I don't know how they're going to work this out. They'll figure it out. That's why they get paid the big bucks, and I don't for this particular thing. But I thought this was a very good subject, something for us to all think. I get a little bit of visual, get a little conversation sparked up. You know what I mean? Some things to think about. And now we go to the American Athletic Conference, which is, let me see, where's that at? The AAC. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling past it. All right. So the top teams in American Athletic, I think that will probably be Army or Tulane, and maybe even Navy. But I think that if you're going to match Colorado up against any American Athletic team, the two matchups where I would like to see, there's only two. Maybe Army, but Memphis, Tulane, or Army. That's it. Anybody else, I think, is almost an automatic dub, I guess. But you don't know. We don't know. We've seen crazier things happen in college football. But San Antonio, University of San Antonio will definitely be going bowling. USF will be going bowling again for the second year in a row. Same record they finished with last year. East Carolina's going bowling. Shout out to them. North Texas will be going bowling. Shout out to them. But yeah, we don't know, and that's the end of those bowl games. So that I gave y'all the end of the results of all those bowl games and what possibly could happen with those. And it took me 45 minutes to do that because I get the rambling in between that. But so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 12 different bowl games that they possibly could be putting Colorado in. We don't know. We just don't know because, okay, so if we go up here on this, so if I go back to bowlseason.com, right, and I'm here now, and we go to, where was it at that I saw that at? So we go to bowl games. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it was, bowl games. And we go to conferences, right? Okay. So now we want to go to the Big 12 conference, because that's the conference that they're in, right? And that's where they got them sitting at. And this is bowlseason.com. Mind you, I'm sure a lot of other people have looked at this site and they're like, well, that's because, and they got the Pac 12, they have Oregon and Washington sitting there, right? And then, so I'll go back to the actual, and you'll see like it's to be determined. Some of these, it says to be determined, right? To be determined. And we know with the Cricket Bowl, who's that going to be. But, see, um, those is the other bowls, right? We really don't know who's going to be playing in those games, right? But so I had to go to collegefootballnews.com for this one, right? And I looked it up, and you have things such as this, and I'll read it to y'all. The Big 12 bowl game tie-ins and affiliations. Just like the Big Ten and the ACC, the SEC, consider it a sure thing that the Big 12 champion is in the college football playoff, and almost certainty with one of the top four spots with the bye, unlike the other Power Four conferences, though the Big 12 bowl affiliations are a tad more fluid. With so many new schools added to the mix, this will likely change throughout the season as new deals come together. The former Pac 12 teams, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, will remain eligible for the former Pac 12 bowl ties and affiliations, will remain eligible for the Pac 12 bowl ties and affiliation. Does not mean that they are and they have to play a Big 12, a Pac 12 championship game. That's key. All right. That means if any of those four teams aren't in the college football playoff, they will be eligible for the Alamo, Independence, Holiday, Las Vegas, and Sun Bowls. For now, this is the likely Big 12 bowl pecking order after college football playoff. Number one, the Valero Alamo Bowl. So that's probably going to go to and that's to be determined. And it says TBD, by the way. That's what it says here, y'all. I'll try to zoom in for y'all as much as I can. But that's what it says, to TBD, to be determined. This was Pac-12. And that's all I'm saying. And then when we go down to the Radiance Technology Independence Bowl versus Army, this was Pac-12. And note, the Big 12 has a deal for 2 Independence Bowl appearances from 2023 to 2025. And last season, Texas Tech filled one of those slots just last season, right? So the alternate affiliations, if available, the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl versus American Athletic or a Conference USA. Don't think that they'll be playing one of those games. Don't know how they'll do it. Whatever makes sense to them, right? And then you got the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl versus the ACC or American Athletic. I don't think that they'll match them up versus American Athletic team. Like I said, if they did, I would like to see probably Army, but Army I think is already in one, and that's the Independence Bowl, the Radiance Technology Independence Bowl versus Army. They're already in that, pretty much. And then so you got the so like I said, Tulane or Memphis, right? That's one of the two. And that's where I was getting at with that. And this is according to collegefootballnews.com. They do a great job with their stories. It's not a bunch of BS or things bouncing around like that. It used to be a Pac-12 bowl. And like I said, from the read and you got to be able to, put things in the context sometimes when you're looking at that. That's pretty much what they're saying, right? If it makes sense, they're eligible for a bowl. They're eligible for a Pac-12 bowl. They're eligible for that bowl. Yes. That doesn't mean that they're probably going to put them in that. It's to be determined. They don't know how they're going to fit this out and how they're going to schedule these teams. They just don't know right now. Because we still got championship week, and I think that they're going to try. I look, and this is me speculating. This is not something I read. I think that they're going to try to make it make sense. I think they're going to try to make it make sense, man. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now, okay, so this right here, the Pac-12 bowl ties and affiliations. The Pac-12 might be gone, resting or rehabbing, but in the meantime, all of these bowls are still in play for the former member schools and other conferences, along with Oregon State and Washington. Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Oregon, Stanford, UCLA, USC, Utah, and Washington will all be eligible for these bowls. So they could play in either or. Whatever one is going to make sense. Whichever one is going to make the money, bro. They're eligible. They're not saying that they actually, and this is the Pac-12. The Pac-12 one I'm reading now. That's what I'm getting from it. I mean, if y'all getting something else, I guess y'all getting something else from it. They're eligible for the Pac-12 bowls, but they're also eligible for this year for the Big 12 bowls. Which one is going to make the most sense? They're not in the Pac-12, but I think they already said that they would play in the Pac-12 bowl, right? They would play in the Pac-12 bowl. So I think at this point, what's happening behind closed doors, what we don't know, and this is me speculating on what's happening on a business aspect, just because I know a little something about business, right? You got the Big 12 commissioner and you got the Pac-12 commissioner sitting together right now trying to figure out who's going to be playing in which one of these bowls. And that's why I gave y'all both bowls. That's why I gave y'all all the Pac-12 bowls, and then I gave y'all all the Big 12 bowls. Which one is going to make more sense? Because we already got a couple of them that tie into each other. And I think that's probably why they'll probably most likely, that's where you're getting a lot of people saying they'll be in the Alamo Bowl, is because the Pac-12 and the Big 12 already both had ties into that. And they're like, look, Colorado's one of our biggest draws. They're one of y'all biggest draws. We already had bowl ties with the Alamo Bowl. Let's put them in the Alamo Bowl. But is that a game that the fans want to see? Probably not. But behind closed doors, that's what makes the most sense for both of them, right? They probably don't want Colorado playing in the Las Vegas Bowl on the 27th. The Alamo Bowl is on the 28th, the day later, but I figured they probably would play in the New Year's Eve Bowl. Not one of these, December 18th bowls. No, they're not going to play in that bowl. That's why I tried to give y'all the 26th or later, right? The Big 10, that's if they get a Big 12 bid. But at this point, the Big 12 they've been on Colorado's jersey this year, but they still are eligible because of them moving on and leaving the Pac-12 the way it did. Some kind of deal went behind closed doors with last year saying, okay, y'all still can play in the Big 12 bowl games. But I think it's just making sense right now. They're working together and trying to figure out who to slot where, who's going to be the biggest draw, and trying to get, both teams and both things. But I think that you're not. I mean, you'll get a big draw at Colorado and BYU. Don't think that I don't know. But people want to see top talent versus top talent. We don't want to see top talent versus a top team. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Does it make sense? But look, until then, man, I had fun doing this video. I really did. Hope that y'all enjoyed it. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you're sharing this out there, man, with your friends and your family. Do not keep me to yourself. All right. I appreciate y'all, man. Peace.